Walk with me. The way I carry this weight graceful is so different. Cause my path and your path is so different. And they ain't never the same things, it's so shifting. Gotta adjust so much, feel like I'm cold shifting. When you ain't gaining no ground, the pain ain't around. It's only when you tryna be great, they tearing you down. Got a hindsight of these snakes, they properly found. And I ain't boxing in the dirt with you. I let that metal get a hearse for you. I'm condescending, got a verse for you. Whatever it takes, I display the world through you. Ain't got enough time to explain the world to you. All I can do is make your skin tougher. Gonna be some hard times, cause men struggle. Especially when you tryna move, the devil send for you. That's why I always play the groove, but I ain't dance for you. I keep both of my hands clean, I put a band on. I season beef before I cook while I stand over. Your poker face telling it all, yeah, the scam's over. And I ain't never been victimized, so I can't coach you through a victim's eyes. All I can show you is my village planted seeds, then it grew, now I visualize. So the struggles I go through, it ain't a curse, it's a gift from God. And I've been grateful with having nothing and I'm still alive. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's just a lie. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's just a lie. I guess I'm made for this grit, but shit is still a lie. And I can't give you the whole thing, I conceal a lot. I put these glasses on in the storm and reveal the plot. And show my enemies from afar like I'm at the dock. I know it's deeper than you thought, but what ocean is not. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's just a lie. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's just a lie.
What's going on? What's going on? Let's talk family. What is going on? Ah man, Sunday night, and you know what I mean. As we keep moving forward in this journey of healing, this journey of just really bringing a lot of things to the surface. Um, let's talk is what it's about. I consider myself a black professional who who has um who has been, been through a lot. And it took for me to have things switch up, for me to really be able to embrace and let the world know and let the community know, like, w- what life is like in my shoes, you know what I mean? Trying to um, you know, play the game and be in this industry and amongst corporate and whatever industry you're in. I happen to be was a niche with mine was the food industry and being in management. Like so, people need to understand like being in management versus just a regular worker. It's so many things you got to uphold. It's a difference. People, let's not get it twisted. Like the guy that's working at a McDonald's or the backline cook that's just cooking your burgers or making your fries or making your meals, his role isn't nowhere near as deep diving as it is the person who's got to run the business. And so, as African American, it's two different scales. I remember as a worker, right? You don't as a worker, you don't get really pressed, and you really don't get pressed and just I think it's more or less of what tends to happen in that situation. You don't get pressed. You get kind of some stuff thrown at you, but it's not a lot. It's not a lot to say um to look into. You know what I mean by getting treated wrong because you're not of value, right? And here's the thing: when you become of major value, and people don't understand as when you're African American in a management position, your value level changes. it definitely changes, and it gets to a point where uh you more or less everything you do becomes under a microscope, right? Everything you do, you get put under a microscope for it. So tonight, I want to talk about the emotional tax of representation, you know, and it's crazy. What the sound of it sounds kind of, it gets a little deep, right? But it's big because the emotional tax of representation is a lot. That means emotionally what we have to go through when it comes to representing ourselves in these industries and what we got to do. So let me talk a little bit about real quick about the emotional tax. The emotional tax of representation is a deep, often invisible burden that many Black professionals carry, right? It's a mix of psychological strain, the social pressure that we have, and cultural vigilance that comes with being the only one or one of few. So I'll use that as we would always have like a meeting, like a big meeting, all the leaders, right? And at that time, when we have a meeting, right, with leadership, that's the time that all the leaders from different departments, and you got to be around all the people responsible for every department. I worked at a hospital. So, I mean, I'm a leadership in the department I'm in. I'm a leader. And so I got to, we every once a month, we got together and did one big meeting with all the leadership team. So that's leaders from every little nursing part, the doctor's part, like all that. And so then you got to see the realness of the whole unit, right? Of the whole organization at that particular hospital. So I would get in there and look, you know, and it didn't hit me till one time. It's like I seen very few of us, when it comes to African Americans. You know, I've seen about 4 or 5 of us, right? But then one day I start really looking around. I said, wait a minute, I'm the only guy. And it was like that for years. And I'm like, man, then I really like got the feeling awkward. Like, you know what I mean? Just it was a weird feeling. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to be the only Black person in the room, but you know what I mean? But it just really felt different being a male, right? So because it makes you think, what's wrong with us? And are we not qualified to be in these rooms as leaders? And so, you know, it's a social strain, right? Because when you're in there, you're looking and it's like you're trying to gel with people, but it's just like naturally, right? It's just the instinct. It's just you flock to whoever you know, and you flock to a lot of times when I had meetings, I would just go to whoever, somebody I felt comfortable with. And 9 times out of 10, I ain't gonna lie, it would be like another like a female. It'd be like another Black coworker or female or leader. And it's crazy because the only reason we connect with each other and sit around each other is because we all share the same pain. You know what I mean? And we just connect. But here comes that social anxiety that when we are talking to each other, then we look at, because we think of everybody around us is like, yeah, we know why they sat together. And it's just all those things goes into this what we call emotional tax of our representation. Um, so let's talk about it real quick. What it is. The term refers to the mental and emotional cost of consistently managing how you're perceived while representing your race or culture in predominantly white or non-diverse environments. It's not just the stress of it, it's a sustained state of alertness that affects confidence, creativity, and well-being. Everything I do, I'm conscious about it because I'm worried about how it comes off because of who I am. Because I know it's not being perceived as equal. It's just constantly whenever, like, I know I would always have meetings, right? We would always be having meetings or check-ins, and let me have this idea about what's going on or what somebody's doing, right? And I will be like, you know what? Hey, I think we need to meet about this or talk about this because I've been hearing blah blah blah, this, that, and the other, and I think we should do this. And maybe it didn't hit in that same type of language barrier or certain speech barrier they're used to or whatever, and just me just being me. But I've always would get a lot of okay. And then people would look at each I would always get these looks, like people would look at each other, like they would look at the other person kind of like, what the hell is he talking about? Or like, what do you think? Like it was just, I would get those every time I would say something out of my mouth. It would just be that type of judgment, like almost questioning, does what he say have validity? Like, because it's coming out of his mouth. Like, so automatically we don't feel we question it, and it's just, and it also having those meetings and when you're talking to people, it comes across you want to make sure everything you say is like it comes across the right way and you sound it right and you presented it and you didn't have to, you were authentic and they understood it. Because I ain't gonna lie, like when we talk about the emotional attacks of representation, it's like it comes with a lot. It's because, being a person, you're not looked at, you're not on the same playing field automatically. So what ends up happening is everything you say comes across like you're not speaking the right language. Is because some people perceive you as a certain way. So let's talk about how it manifests. With the emotional, the mental and emotional cost. How it manifests is you're constantly feeling like you're being watched, judged, or tokenized. Constantly. And I know how that is. Because walking around and being in your area as a manager doing stuff, somebody's always watching you. Because they're watching what you do. And it's funny because it's like, are you watching me because you're trying, like, and sometimes it's like people watch you because you may move different than they move and you may move better. And they just want to know why you move like that. And they're studying you and really want to know your method instead of them asking like, hey, I see how you handle that, Ryan. Like, I would like to be more like that. No, they watch you and try to, and a lot of times it could be plotting against you and you feel like that all the time. So that's another tax that we got to deal with. We feel watch, judge, constantly being judged. Everything we do, we're judged. Everything is judged. How we say something, I can't tell you how many times what I call a reach. I could say, like, you know what? I had jumped in my blue car and blah, blah, blah. Somebody like, what? You got a red car? No, I said blue car. It sounded like you said red car. No, I said blue car. And they'd be like, no, you said, like, I call those reaches. It's been so many times in meetings where it's people have, if they want to, call you out to be a liar or distrustworthy, everything you say will have a reach to it. Did you just say this? No, I didn't say that. Oh, I thought you said this. Or if you come up with a solution about something, they may say like, oh no, it's this, and you may be like, no, I didn't say that. I was saying this. Oh, I thought you said this. I didn't. You know what I mean? It's like I go through so much of that, and it's kind of like, man, am I speaking Spanglish or something? It's like, because I swear what you know what I mean? I'm talking about doing this or talking about doing that, And then a person constantly wants me to be wrong or it not be the right thing. Tokenized. That's big. It's been some times where I've worked in environments where I've came in and somebody was like, yo, what's up, Ryan? Yo, what up? It's like, do I give you those vibes when I walk in the building? When I walk in here as a leader, do I give you what up vibes? You know what I mean? Like, do I give you like yo and all that, whatever the stereotypical things you think, do I give you those vibes? I hope I don't, because that's not what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? But maybe when you see me, that's just what you think. Um, you know, and another way of how it manifests is, let's talk about invisibility, right? We're constantly kind of overlooked for promotions or ideas until somebody repeats them. Because we may have a good idea about something we want, but nobody gives it validity till somebody else says something. And then when that comes up from somebody else, then it means something. Oh, Ryan came up with this idea. And they look like, oh, really? That's a good thing. But still, that don't get you in the race for nothing. Put it like this. When it comes to promotions and things to get higher, I truly believe, in my heart, in my whole heart, that that person got to soul-handedly really believe in you. That person has to soul-handedly believe in you for you to have that next shot. And whoever that person is that believes in you is really going out their way. You know what I mean? And it's like, and those people are people that are confident in themselves and what they do to give you a shot. Because when we get in the positions we're at, a lot of times it's more or less like, you just need to be happy you're here. You ain't got to be here. You could be somewhere else. You're lucky. Be lucky and be happy. Don't move. Don't do nothing. Do what we say. And, go on with that. Let's talk a little bit about code switching fatigue. Constantly adjusting tone, language, or demeanor to fit in. Code switching. I would say, for me, I can always say, the well-spoken conversation, the articulate conversation has always been good with me because I've always known how to put words together. I've always known how to speak. I did pretty good in English class coming up and knowing how to put my words together. And I spent a lot of time in the business where I learned a lot of the corporate lingo, learned certain things. But one thing about me, I was able to take a lot of that stuff and bring it into my own verbiage. A big thing, I think one of my biggest things is, you know what I'm saying? And I would kind of take that and mix it along with my general communication. But throughout all that in my communication, it kind of gave me a sense of down to earth and realness in whoever I'm speaking with. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't a computer. So I would, it was just kind of like a mixture of your corporate lingo and your down to earth, normal street smarts and stuff like that. I was always able to mix the two because I knew, just being in it so long, what's going on. You know what I mean? You got to learn, the art of it. You got your follow-ups and circle backs and, all that, the jargon, right? But I always knew how to take all that and bring it to a realist perspective. And I use that a lot in my coaching, when I would talk one-on-one with my associates, because my associates don't understand none of that. They don't understand like all the jargon because they're not in the role I'm in. They just understand like their basic position, which is, if I'm in food service, I'm dealing with nothing with a bunch of cooks, dishwashers, hosts, servers, whatever you want to call it. Like I'm dealing with people that's just responsible for cooking somebody food or taking somebody food or ringing up somebody and cashing out somebody's food. All the extra, you know what I mean? So hospitality is a major that we got to let them know. But when I'm speaking to them, you got to meet them where they're at. You can't talk over their head. You cannot talk over their head. So, you know, sometimes that the code switching will be fatigue. And I know I would find myself being like, everything I say doesn't have to be like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, a lot of times I would just try to be real, just get not too real, but just be like kind of mix the two and just because I think that got the people better. Trying to be more open and original about how things got to go because therefore you people ain't guessing. Like you want to make sure you completely when you leave that conversation, you want to make sure they understand. Um, so you know, it was a lot of pressure with that code switching and fatigue, just trying to make sure you fit in. And then a lot of times, you know, when you're talking to people, you always want to make, you know, you just want to make sure like I think the biggest thing, right? I I heard this and it was an interview I heard, something I seen on the news here in Mansfield News. It was something to do with council or whatever. But I was listening to the conversation and I was reading the script and then it said when somebody expressed a concern, somebody said, "So what I'm hearing is," and I laughed because that is so big in the corporate thing now. It's it's to respond, it's to you know respond and repeat back, or listen and repeat back. It's kind of like it's to let you know we're listening and we understand exactly what you're saying, but in some terms it sounds so scripted, and it also sounds like the person you're talking to is dumb. It's like so when it said so you're like so what I'm hearing you say is blah 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 blah, and it's and so that person is like, yeah. And then you're just like, okay, well, how about I do this? Because I just when I heard that something went through me because I'm like, man, I live that every day. You know what I mean? Because and I don't know, and I think it's a justification just to let that person know I hear what you're saying, and it's good to know, but just more of the jargon, right? More of the corporateness, and it's more or less like it's with me. I would use that, but also I would kind of be like, so what you saying is, so what you trying to say it's so many different ways to do it. Like, so what you trying to say is this, and with me, it would just be like a normalization because I'm dealing with my staff. But it's always the same thing. But it's all about communication. You know what I mean? Um, so when it comes to that fatigue, sometimes with us in this game, it gets exhausting. It does. Um, representation pressure. You know, you feel responsible for how your entire community is perceived. So every time something happens in Black America and it's a topic of discussion, right? It feels weird, especially in corporate America and being in the office. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like, Black History Month is the weirdest month in the corporate office it can be because it's just like some people try to, you know, hey, happy Black History Month, and we just want to, and then it just makes us feel awkward. It makes us feel really awkward. It's because it's just like it's almost like, well, we have to say this. We're gonna say. I just want to let you know this, that, and other, and then everybody's just it because the more whatever the society is on is what usually the company is on. So I ain't gonna lie. Like if Trump is like, forget Black History Month and DEI, you'll see if a company is ain't on it, they probably won't even mention it. But I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, because some companies go crazy, go real big with Black History Month. Um, but at the same time, you know, once the hypeness about it goes down and like how it's supposed to be, it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? And it's like we're not talking about this, and and so it feels weird when Black History Month, when February is happening, and you're working at a job, and it's a corporate job, and it's like we always want to whatever diversity thing talk about it, but it's weird because you could be on that call and everybody Happy Black History Month, and most Black folks just be like, please don't talk about, 'cause, because they're looking at it, they're looking at us like we could be like, thank you. You know what I mean? It just the representation gets weird, and and then let violence happens. If violence happened in an area where something's heard about, like, well, in the Black community, this, what I mean, I've heard people throw out numbers. Well, in the Black community, this is going on, and this is why we're doing this initiative because and you're just like, you get quiet. It is just that pressure because it's just like so much happens, and not just the representation pressure, but let's just talk about the pressure of what happens when, even in a work site, when you're dealing with coworkers and Black coworkers, because their representation kind of matters, and it affects us. Because let's just say flat out, like, they're doing something that just comes off very stereotypical, and it's just like, what I mean? It's just pressure because first thing, the conversation, they don't want to say nothing, especially when a Black person in the room in leadership. And then, it's been plenty of times where I've been called and be like, oh, Ryan, I'm having a problem with this person. And it's always a Black person. So just figure out I'm the whisperer. And, what I mean? It's just always been that little representation pressure. And overall emotional labor. Being asked to educate others or lead DEI efforts without recognition or pay. Yeah, being the person to to have those conversations and to represent, a group of your people and whatever. And it's been very few times I've been asked to do that, but it's been a lot where I've been asked to be like, if you're having problems with workers, African American workers, and because being it's the whole thing is being scared of the conversation, right? Not want to have the conversation with another African American worker because we're scared how they're going to react, or if somebody has a problem with them, they come off rough. I used to have plenty of conversations with a lot of my workers about, especially the men, about things that'll happen. Because, when you work in food, you deal with food service, you deal with frustration, right? I mean, things is fast paced, people ain't doing stuff and just you get mad. So nothing fears people than an angry Black man. An angry Black man is so, and people don't understand, like, first of all, it's perceived that we're already unhinged and angry to begin with. Then when when something makes us mad, we have no cool. We go off, we talk loud, and when we get to talking loud, I've had conversations with workers and they got loud, and it's been a whole episode. And then people come to me, they were scared and they were and I would have to tell people, like, hey, man, I would have to tell my workers, like, hey, do you then that's when I would have to have that one-on-one talk, man to man, Black man to Black man. Hey, do you know when you get mad and you get the yelling and get all, that's very scary to people because the perception is already we're angry and we're uncontrollable and we're loose and we're a loose cannon. We're going to blow off the edge. An angry Black man is something that people fear. So when you raise your voice, when you get mad, somebody, and it's crazy because it's been so many instances when somebody would say something or provoke somebody, and then all of a sudden, boom, as a man, we can't take it. And once we get to going, then we angry. Then it's the angry person in the room. Everybody gets scared, lock your doors, go hide in corners. Oh my gosh, he's going to hit. You know what I mean? Like he's going to explode because that's how we're looked at. Um, and I was always the one to say, Ryan, you need to go in there and deal with that person. You need to bring him down. You know, because, and a lot of times it was just that part, having those conversations. I've had to have conversations where people thought, you know, it was some racism stuff going on. And then whenever that happened, I would have to be brought into the conversation. I feel as a, you know, that token, right? To be like, well, what do you feel we're racist for? Here goes Ryan. Ryan, what's your think up? What's your dude? Let's talk. You know, feel like, you know, have you ever felt like? And I always tell people when it comes to racism and in this corporate game, in this work game, and whatever the field, it's two difference between a normal laborer and an executive. Those are two different two different styles of how racism and discrimination looks. You know, it looks different. It's perceived different. It's given to me different than it's given to them. How racism or discrimination may look to a normal worker versus how it may look to an executive, it's very different. Because as an executive, you have certain privileges because who you are and why you're there and your role. That's the reason. Like you deserve to be there. You got the credibility and stuff like that. So they're not going to sit there and treat you down because, hey, you deserve your spot here. You'll just get, your discrimination comes at a different reach. It comes at a different type of pace. It comes at a different tactics. You know, it comes at different microaggressions. It comes in different packages versus, versus your average worker of, hey, did you just put that in your pocket, or did you not pay for that, or did you not do it's some, you know, simple stuff like that. But for on an executive level, it's completely different. It's completely different. The way you spoke to somebody, the way you handled a meeting, the way you did something. You know what I mean? It's like it all comes in different little type of ways, and it's different microaggressions, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah, so you know what I mean? So just like those are the emotional things, and that's how a lot of the when we talk about the tax of us as a representation kind of take place. So let's talk a little bit about the impact. The impact of this tax can lead to chronic stress. Of course, we all talked about burnout, and another one of the other series we talked about, and even identity conflict. Many professionals describe feeling like they're performing at work, not just doing their job, but managing perceptions every minute, overtime that erodes authenticity and mental health. Because throughout work, I'm trying to do my job, but I'm also trying to debunk all perceptions of me. You know, I'm trying to debunk those perceptions of me. How can I debunk the fact, okay, if you just think naturally by default, I'm a liar, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't have the smarts, I got to debunk that. How can I debunk the general perception of the things I might, how my speech is? You know, how can I debunk the fact that, you know what I mean, my ideas are just as high level as anybody else? And the fact that when I talk, you're not going to look at me, you're not going to challenge everything I say because you don't respect my opinion. How can I debunk these things? Because every day I'm going in, I'm just like, you know, I would be in a meeting, I'm just like, I hear the problem. Why don't we just do this? But as I'm thinking of that, I can say like, oh, well, if we're having a problem with people not, you know, doing their cleaning assignments at this time, why don't we just make sure we go around and check this out, check that out? Like I could say it like that, but then that's too simplified. Because I could come out and say that, And then next thing you know, it's challenged. It's like, well, how are we gonna? What type of work or what type of, you know what I mean? It'll get escalated to another issue. More or less because maybe how I said it's just too vague, you know. And that right there, it's stupid. It's like that knows you're in a place of not being accepted when your ideas, right, is coming across of too simple or too basic. You're not complicated enough. Nah, it ain't nothing about that. It's just the fact that you don't like the fact the idea came out of my mouth. You know, it's like it's nothing about it's not complicated enough. You don't like the fact that it came out of my mouth. And that's perception. You know, that's what it is fighting every day you go in, you're fighting all these things. You're fighting the perception of how you're looked at. You're fighting you know what I'm saying, the code switching. You're fighting being the one that's got to represent all black people. You know what I mean? You're fighting, you know what I mean, the fact that you're never looked at to elevate or be something bigger. And you're always watched, you're always judged, and you're tokenized. You know, you're called in when somebody's having a diversity conflict, you're called in to represent, you know, like, hey, you can't say we got diversity or you know, discrimination or racist issues. Look at Ryan. He's a manager. He's one of us. He's black just like you. So you can't say that. You know what I mean? It's like you got to deal with all these pressures every day. Don't forget you got to do your job. Don't forget you got to do your job. So, you know, let's round it off here. So let's talk about healing and reclaiming the space. You don't owe emotional labor to every conversation. Like some people, like you don't owe them that. You don't owe. You ain't got to prove to them why their perception, you know, why their perception of you shouldn't perceive them that way. You ain't got to prove them like that. You ain't got to go out your way to do that. You don't have to participate in, you know what I mean, being the token for everything and the, like, you don't set boundaries. Like, hey, you got a problem with that person? You got a problem with it? You go talk to him. Why I got to talk to him? Because what are you scared of? Like, I'll go, and here's the thing about me. I'll talk to any employee, white, black, Spanish, Mexican, like Asian, whatever. It don't matter. I don't have a problem talking to any employee because I know how to communicate. So, like, quit asking me to be the one to go talk to this associate because you think they're too ghetto or too rah-rah and it's not going to come across right. If you know how to communicate and that person knows how to communicate back, it shouldn't be an issue. I think mentoring is the best thing also when it comes to healing and reclaiming that space. When it comes to dealing with the emotional attacks, having somebody you can go to that share the same, you know what I mean, pressures. You know what I mean? Like this group, you know what I mean? This group alone and this podcast alone represents that, being able to go to somebody. Speak truth to power. Use your voice to challenge bias and redefine professionalism. That's what the Let's Talk series is about. You know, speak truth to power. And I'm sorry that it took me being put in a position of a different space to be able to speak on something I've been going through for 20 years. It was just the fact that you know, you're in it, so you're like, all right, you know what I mean, you don't want to ruffle no feathers, but regardless if you're still in it or not, it don't mean you can't talk about it. It is what it is. And you're not, and let's get something straight. There's no bashing. We're on this thing to talk about how we can be better and what we go through, right? And at the end of the day, you know, this is about uplifting ourselves in this game, in this corporate game, and being better, but understanding, like, you know, and also, you know what I mean, just to the workforce, you know what I mean, when it comes to it, like, at the end of the day, it's just equality, right? We just equality. Just want to be equal. That's it. Like literally equal. Like my opinion and my co-workers or my co-managers who not maybe be of the same complexion and diversity of me, we should have the same equalness in how we're dealt with. That's all. It's equalness. It shouldn't be a difference. It shouldn't be, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be like I shouldn't have to work so hard to even get through my day or what I have to do and be challenged with everything I'm asked. When my coworkers or co-partners, everything they say is the smartest thing in the room. Everything they say is like, yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. And then it comes to Ryan, it's like, well, did you do this? Well, I don't understand why am I getting challenged so much? Why does everything I say come with a challenge? But then my coworker, you know, what I mean, co-workers, co-managing and all that, everything they say is gold. But everything I say is questioned. Everything I say is met with a challenge. My opinion deserves to be given that same amount of respect as my coworkers. But if you take away, but the reason why it's not is because that perception of me, which just comes natural in a lot of people's DNA of what they think of somebody, it's met with a challenge. You know, it's met with a challenge. Rest unapologetically. Rest is resistance. It's how you recharge and reclaim peace. So a lot of times when we go through all the stuff we go through on an average day in our positions, running a department and running, you know what I mean, whether a business or department or wherever we're at, when we get home, we are exhausted. And we're exhausted because of all these things that we had to do. All the invisible barriers and invisible weight I talked about in some of the other streams that we have to carry, right? We're always tired. We get home and we don't want to do nothing. Don't want to talk to nobody. Nothing, period. Like, leave me alone. Why? Because I spent all day like an attorney arguing back and forth, trying to prove my point and trying to exist in my workspace and trying to do my job. Everything is challenged. What's wrong? Are you okay? You quiet. This is that. Oh my. It's just like, give me a break. And it's just emotional. It's just emotional. The tax on dealing with what we got to deal with of our representation in these workplaces is huge. Um, and the thing about it is doing what we do, and it's like I've been a person myself I've been a great communicator. I'm great with people. And it would be a lot of projects that I'm in, and I would deal with people who don't come from maybe that upper level suite, you know, that everybody else comes from. And so they get me, and maybe we're working on a project together. And the first thing they say, I like dealing with you, Ryan. I like talking to you because you get it. And that's the thing about just being kind of well versed in every little direction when it comes to communication and managing and working with people. I've always considered that a quality of mine. But sometimes that's also a threat though. Go back to the threat conversation. The good things about you, nobody will never really take that as an advantage. They take it as a threat. And then once you become a threat, now you're watching your back. You're being watched. You're being judged. You know what I'm saying? You're being weighted to. Let me tell you, when when it would be a disciplinary measure or something somebody would say to me in conversations I had, I can't tell you how many times where I would be in the office having a conversation, and my one up would say something to me, and they would look at me. Or a lot of times we're on a call and they would say this, and they would say, "So how do you feel about that?" And they would be waiting on me to, go completely that perception of a black man, because a lot of things people, they will say little jabbing things in their corporate lingo about me and stuff like that, and and they would wait on me to kind of go there, right? Go there, like waiting on me to go there. And I would be like, okay, well, I understand that. So what's the next steps? I'll just hit them. I'll hit them with their lingo. And they're like, oh, well, next step. Okay, well, cool. Well, so when should I know about that? And then I'll just start going right to the book, what we got to do. Because you're not going to get the reaction you want out of me, because you want that reaction because it's so good. You know what I mean? When it comes to this game of when they get that reaction out of us and trick us out of our position because of us acting their perceived way we think we're going to act. Be that it's been so many times they're waiting on that angry black man, waiting on him. Please. I think sometimes I've seen the look on their face. They're like, is he going to hit me? Is he going to hit me? Like, because, I could tell he's going, you know what I mean? Like he wanted, it's like, because I'm waiting on it. Like, because then I can really stick it to him, But it's just, it's crazy, dealing with all that. And here's the thing. Here's to bring it all home. We are just literally trying to have a career for ourselves, feed our families, take care of our responsibilities. I didn't, when we try to get into these jobs and roles, it's like we're not trying to, take over. We're just trying to be better for ourselves. And every job I was at that I led at, I was a manager. I was just really trying to set the example for my kids. You know what I mean? Be a better example to say, like, we can really do this. But I would never in all my years think that this is a harder challenge to being in that role, being in middle management, being in executive management. And here's the thing, and I'm speaking from a middle manager spot. I can imagine those that have gotten to the C-suite level. Wow. Their pressure is double. Salute to all African American men and women in C-suite level, because you wear all this triple and double, and you got to keep moving. You got to keep moving and moving and shaking. You've mastered the art of all this and where you're at. And also, you've learned how to make it work for you. And, but at the same time, how hired, we are in the C-suite is sometimes it's some disregard that we can't do everything. I mean, I admit, like, I was in situations where I reached above, to some C-suite level, diversity things that African Americans like myself. And it was like, man, tough, Ryan. It's tough. I get it. It's tough. But at the end of the day, it's only so much they can do, because they got to make sure they good. And so, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of times us in these positions, we think when we go to that upper black person, that black person going to be like, oh, they ain't going to treat you like that. I'm going to make sure I'm going to shut it. Like, no, they can't. They can't shut it down, because, above them is somebody else that's being like, well, what you doing? Well, why are you going so hard for that person? Why? Because they're black? They end up in the same position. So, and I'm thankful for every person of color, that when I dealt with the things I've dealt with, that did support me and did the best they can do. But like at the end of the day, I understood it. It was, the game is the game. And it's always going to be like that. It's until we get to the point where we can change completely our narrative. And don't get me wrong, it's some companies that's strictly just about diversity for real. They just don't say it. They're about diversity for real, and everybody's equal. Everybody. That means if you're an asset to that company, you will be treated great. Period, for what you are, not for the color of your skin, not for how you are or whatever your beliefs. It's because of your talent. If you're a hell of a communicator and a hell of a leader, we want you here because this is what you do. And we want people who do what you do. We need your energy. And I could say that, you know what I'm saying? Last company I worked for, I had people who were about that, we love your energy. We love it. We do. But then I had certain people who, it was a threat. It was a threat. And those certain people were really the people who got to decide my choices as as an immediate career. It was a shame that the people outside of them couldn't really, really steer a difference. Because it was almost like I end up being the one that everybody was like, Ryan, really? They did what? Huh? Why? He was, it was hard. It was hard to make me look like a bad guy. But at the end of the day, when certain people, one thing you learn, if you target it, and people want you, you're a threat, it is what it is. You can't do nothing about it. Point blank, period. So the most thing I would tell people is what we need to learn how to do is, I was just telling my wife, I'm like, I have to learn to be straightforward. I have to be straightforward. I have to be able to set my boundaries immediately because I'm an asset. I could be an asset. I could be really good in what I do and to the team. But like, if I sense something is off, I got to be real and talk about it right now. I'm not going to let it build up and then try to navigate through it because that's where all these things come from. Emotional tax, representation, you know what I'm saying? The different microaggressions, dealing with all these things, the silent triggers and the silent loads we carry start stress, burnout, and they lead to mental health issues. But it all starts from us not saying nothing because we love our job. We love the role we're in. We got a good position, good money, good quality of life. Just deal with it. Take it on your back. Deal with it every day. Deal with the microaggressions. Deal with the tokenism. Deal with the judging, the constant perception. Deal with all those things. Got a good job. I mean, the most thing I could say was like, hey, they got to pay me. But at the end of the day, it's like more and more mental stress. You mess around, look up. My mom was very, very adamant about saying, you're going to look up one day, mess around, have a stroke. And I've seen it. I've witnessed people like me and people that I knew be at a job that caused them so much stress, they had a stroke. So much pressure. So much emotional tax in the representation. Trying to live up to being a professional. Being honorable and professional. But hiding all the mental stress and anguish they go through in that office. Stroke. It's got to get better. We got to get better. It's got to be an equal playing field. I just want to say it's got to be an equal playing field. We got to play equal. It's got to be. It has to stop the perceptions, the tokenism, the microaggressions, stop all of the, stop. Even it's crazy because let a black person come in there with a name. How do you pronounce their name? Come on, man. Why is I got to be the one to pronounce the name? You know what I mean? I get all that. I get all that. And it's like, does it, Jaquan, what? Hey, sometimes people be having normal names and it just, maybe they black and maybe it just, people love to it's just all them type of microaggressions happen. But it's taxing. It's taxing. And it's a shame going through it and trying to grow. But we are here. I just need people to know that. We're here. We're going to keep learning. We're going to keep being educated. We're going to get smarter. And we're going to be more of those people in the room. We're not going nowhere. You know, no matter how you might try to perceive it, but we got to learn how to grow. But I'm just putting a call out to all businesses is we got to get better, and we need to be equal, and we need to not play games with people's lives, you know, all because they don't look the same as you or fit into your perception of how a business needs to look and be. You know, we need to be equal. So, on that note, thanks for checking in with me tonight, guys. I've been Ryan James. This has been UPNO Live, Emotional Tax of Representation. My call out to everybody, we got to get better and do better. But you guys just keep it moving, man. Other than that, you know, y'all just keep it moving, man, and be real. And I'll catch y'all on the flip one. All right? Peace.
Walk with me. The way I carry this weight graceful is so different. Cause my path and your path is so different. And they ain't never the same things, it's so shifting. Gotta adjust so much, feel like I'm cold shifting. When you ain't gaining no ground, the pain ain't around. It's only when you trying to be great, they tearing you down. Got a hindsight of these snakes, they properly found. And I ain't boxing in the dirt with you. I let that metal get a hearse for you. I'm condescending, got a verse for you. Whatever it takes, I display the world through you. Ain't got enough time to explain the world to you. All I can do is make your skin tougher. Gonna be some hard times, cause men struggle. Especially when you trying to move, the devil send for you. That's why I always play the groove, but I ain't dance for you. I keep both of my hands clean, I put a band on. I season beef before I cook while I stand over. Your poker face telling it all, yeah, the scam's over. And I ain't never been victimized, so I can't coach you through a victim's eyes. All I can show you is my village planted seeds, then it grew, now I visualize. So the struggles I go through, it ain't a curse, it's a gift from God. And I've been grateful with having nothing and I'm still alive. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's just a lie. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's just a lie. I guess I'm made for this grit, but shit is still a lie. And I can't give you the whole thing, I conceal a lot. I put these glasses on in the storm, it revealed the plot. And showed my enemies from afar like I'm at the dock. I know it's deeper than you thought, but what ocean is not. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's just a lie. If I ain't never told the truth, I guess it's